There's no such thing as a digital building. We're used to AI transforming every aspect of our lives these days. It's on our cell phones, it's in our homes, it's in our offices, it's in our cars, it's uh, landers on Mars. It's doing everything. It's transforming our life. It's even having a major impact on the architectural office. Projects like this, Deep Himmelblau from Corp Himmelblau, are showing us the way that things are going to be happening in the future, whereby AI is going to be hallucinating designs and transforming the way we think about architecture. The office of the future will not be the same as the office of today. We're also seeing it in student projects. This is a project by Giovanna Pilaca, who is a student from Peru. And this is her using VQGAN and CLIP, one of the latest developments in AI that very easily allows you to hallucinate and create unbelievably spectacular new designs. This is a project based on the title of which is the futuristic Indian temple, and it's based on a data set of buildings by Yan Song Ma, by Corp Himmelblau, by Tom Main, and so on, and it is hallucinating all these things. They're coming out of the computer. AI is transforming how everything is happening today. So, is it also going to transform the world of fabrication, the way in which buildings are constructed in the future? Is AI going to transform that just as it's transformed everything so far? How will AI change the way that we will build buildings? Will there be such a thing as AI fabrication and AI construction? Let's refer to the world of 3D printing, a buzzword that was around a few years ago. It's been around for some time now, and which already has transformed the way in which we construct and which we fabricate buildings. This is a building entirely 3D printed in UAE, which shows the possibilities of things that 20 years ago would have been unimaginable. But they're here and they're here to stay. This is a structure by Yulei in China that's showing this, that actually these kind of techniques are literally everywhere. And here's one in Design Miami, in Miami itself, from about 4 or 5 years ago, which is showing that it's been around for some time now and it already has left its impact. 3D printing is here to stay. Even these structures, these bridges that were produced in 2017 in Shanghai in China, are showing us that nothing is beyond the scope of what we might do with 3D printing. In 2017, I guest edited this edition of Architectural Design with Benaz Farahi, 3D printed body architecture, by which we meant basically the way in which 3D printing had been allowing architects to design all forms of designs at the scale of the body, and particularly fashion itself. This is a project, this is a design by Benaz herself for an item of clothing. And this is a design for the Paris catwalk by Nicolo Casas, the Italian designer. Again, 3D printed. And these are designs that come out of the lab in MIT Media Lab that Neri Oxman runs. And you can see how astonishing some of these new items are and how they're transforming the way we are expressing ourselves and how we are designing. Here are shoes coming out of the office, the United Nude office run by Remdi Koolhaas. On the right-hand side, some shoes designed by Zaha Hadid. They're changing literally everything. Here, a chair, an item of furniture that designed by Alvin Huang for a Hollywood movie. Or indeed, we can see materials such as glass now being 3D printed. This by a lab from within MIT again, showing us the potential that nothing seems to be on the scope of 3D printing. It's been used to 3D print items of jewelry. This designed by Zaha Hadid Architects, or this is designed by Jenny Wu, an architect based in LA, another one by Jenny Wu. And it's even being used to 3D print food. This is a result of some of the work coming out of Sugar Lab, an office in Los Angeles, which uses sugar, it's 3D printed sugar. AI is transforming everything, and you can even get your portrait 3D printed or maybe 2D printed onto your coffee these days. And this is, of course, actually, this has been around since for some time now, since 2016. It's as though everything has been transformed by this new technology. So, what about AI? Is AI going to transform the whole world of fabrication just as it's transformed the whole world of design and will transform it even more in the future? We're now seeing companies such as AI Build that include the term AI in the title of their company. What exactly do they mean by this? Are we to be worried about this? Are we to be concerned that, like a company like AI Space Factory, that simply uses AI as a kind of branding mechanism for itself and doesn't really use AI? Does AI Build actually use AI? Certainly, we can see some products that are coming out of their office. This is a 3D printed structure called Daedalus that was printed by AI Build. But the question is, what role did AI actually have in the project? Let's not question it. It looks beautiful, and for sure it is beautiful. But how was AI involved, and what role did it play? This is a project that AI Build was involved in. And they told me that it was AI controlled. It's a design for a pavilion for a structure called the Cloud Pergola for the Croatian pavilion for the Venice Biennale in 2018, and it was designed by Elisa Andruszek, seen here, who happened to be one of my students at Columbia many years ago. But when I asked Elisa what AI had been used in the project, she said none. There was no AI used at all. So, how are we to understand companies that brand themselves as with terms such as AI Build? To my mind, in and of itself, AI is unable to fabricate anything. The reason for this is straightforward enough. Materials are analog, and by extension, so too are buildings, whereas the digital is immaterial. From this perspective, there is no such thing as a digital building. And even when we refer to digital fabrication, the actual fabrication relies on analog processes that have been around since the beginning of time. For what is 3D printing but a form of additive manufacturing, no less than bricklaying? And what is computer numerically controlled CNC milling, such as we're seeing here, than a form of subtractive manufacturing, no less than carving, chiseling, and sawing. As such, the term digital fabrication is misleading. Strictly speaking, then, we ought to be using the expression digitally controlled fabrication, as the term computer numerically controlled makes clear. By extension, there is no such thing as AI fabrication, although there can be AI controlled fabrication. AI consists of algorithms, and algorithms are simply instructions. Algorithms do not fabricate anything. All they can do is to control the fabrication process. If you want to think AI, think algorithms, do not think humanoid robots, and do not think about AI buildings. To my mind, there is no such thing as a digital building.